Can a landlord email a termination notice in California, whether that's a 3-day notice to pay rent, one of the at-fault notices, or a 30, 60, 90-day notice? Hi, my name is Rob Wells. I'm the Landlord Boy on TikTok and YouTube. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to our videos. Now, we do get this question a lot. We get landlords asking or telling me things that, hey Rob, I served a termination notice, and then I tell the landlord, okay, give me the proof of service, tell me how it was served, and then the landlord tells me, oh, I emailed the notice, or I text messaged the notice, or whatever here. Okay, I'm gonna just tell you, emailing a termination notice is not lawful in California. There are methods prescribed in the Civil Code and the Code of Civil Procedure that require how landlords must serve the notices, and we're going to cover those right here. Okay, so the 3-day notices that are the at-fault notices, like for 3-day notice to pay rent, 3-day notices to cure like lease violations, and like 3-day notices for nuisances, are all governed. The service is governed under Code of Civil Procedure, section 1162. Okay, and then termination notices, like the end of like month-to-month tenancy, those types of notices, those are governed under Civil Code section 1946. If you have a tenancy at will, which is in legalese a tenancy where rent is not charged to a tenant, that's governed under Civil Code section 789. Okay, what all these code sections have in common is they incorporate by reference Code of Civil Procedure section 1162 about how you can serve a residential tenant notice. Okay, and I'm just going to go over them briefly here. Okay, so you just know. Okay, per Civil Code section 1162 subdivision A, there are 3 methods how you can serve a tenant. Okay, the number 1 is serving the tenant personally. Okay, probably the best form of service contemplated under the law. Okay, the next best thing would be is if the tenant is absent from their residence when you're trying to serve them, type deal, and you try to serve them at their place of business, you can attempt to leave a copy of the notice for your tenant at the residence to an adult that's, you know, looks in charge of the property, and then you also mail a copy to the tenant at the residence. That's what we call substitute service. Okay, you can do it that way. Or if no one is at the home, right, like you go to the home and you knock on the door and you wait for a response to try to serve the tenant, if no one's there, you are allowed to what we call post a copy of the notice in a conspicuous spot of the property, usually the front door, somewhere where the tenant's going to find it, and you also mail a copy of the notice as well too. That's what we call posting and mailing, or nail and mail service. Okay, so those are like the 3 methods under the Code of Civil Procedure. Okay, so not going to go into the weeds about when you can do substitute service or posted and mailings here. The law doesn't contemplate emailing a copy of the notice to the tenant and lawfully serving a tenant. Okay, until they amend the Code of Civil Procedure and the Civil Code to authorize email of the notice, it's not lawful to email a termination notice to a tenant. Okay, and landlords that do just email the notice to the tenant without following one of the 3 options we just talked about here, you're going to have an issue, because one of the issues that a landlord has to prove in court in an eviction case or unlawful detainer is proper service of the termination notice. Okay, and for like the fault notices, like the 3-day notices, that type of deal, you have to show that the tenant didn't comply with what was demanded in the notice, such as paying your rent or fixing the lease violation or moving out, that type of deal. So the long story short, you can't email a notice. All right, landlords, if you're not sure how you properly can serve a tenant, okay, your termination notice, or you keep messing this up, because I have landlords that kind of keep messing it up and they waste a lot of time and they need someone to help them out, and you're in the Northern California area, feel free to reach out to us on our website below to book a free case review. I have a couple of questions to see if we're a good fit, and put them down below. Okay, if you have questions, comments, put them down below. I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. Until next time, folks, I'll talk to you then. Thanks.